Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Mentzel.
We are back for another episode, man. I'm feeling good, man. It's warming up outside in Fargo, North Dakota. How you been, man?
We're getting closer and closer to spring break. I'm happy about that. And we're getting some new sports, too. I mean, softball's about to start.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's good. Track and field's about to start up, too. It's a time for transition.
Right. Let's get into the show. So, after this past weekend, Bison basketball, Bison basketball, were down 2 games playing both road games in South Dakota. However, last night on Thursday, they turned it around with beating Omaha to a pulp.
Yeah, and they definitely needed a win like that last night, considering the 2 straight losses kind of dropped them down in the conference standings. They need every win they can get right now. With how close this conference is in terms of like 2nd to 7th is like only a couple of games apart. So they're going to need every win they can get to get a good seed for March.
Yep, let's kick it off. So this past Saturday, they faced SDSU, the Jackrabbits, in Brookings, South Dakota, and lost 90-85. Now this is kind of sad because think about it. They beat the SDSU last month by 6 points, and then to come back to their house this time and lose by 5, it just seems like it was a turnover or a made shot to kind of change the course of the game.
For Dave Richmond, it's got to be a broken record at this point with the defense. It's just the defense has struggled in certain games this year, and giving up 90 points is definitely not the recipe for victory. And considering the offense has been great as of late, and we'll get more into that later, but you can have as good of offense as you want. If you give up that many points on defense, you're not going to win.
Yeah, it's kind of back and forth basketball. I mean, SCSU's guard Zeke Mayo had 41 points, but at least Wheeler's back though. Wheeler's back, back from his injury. He's kind of limited right now, but he's back.
Yeah, but you definitely need a guy like Damari Wheeler-Thomas at this point, and considering that Luke Yoder's probably done for the year. So considering that Wheeler-Thomas is back, it definitely helps this team in a lot of ways.
Yeah, to get into the first half, they were up, just under 20 minutes. They were leading the whole game. They went into they were up 21-9, and then going into the half, they were up 43-21. So the Bison are doing pretty good, right? And then SDSU comes out in the second half on fire. The Bison are now down trying to chase the Jackrabbits, and they get the lead back 78-77, but then the Bison went on, SDSU went on a 6-0 run, just took the game.
Yeah, the Bison had a chance to get a 3-pointer at the very end to at least tie the game, but unfortunately they could not get a shot to go from all the way across the court.
But I know we were talking about the defense, but their offense, like we've been saying, they're doing pretty good. They shot 60% from the field and 44% from the 3-point range. But however, if you're not playing defense, you can't let SDSU score 90 points.
I know this phrase is normally assimilated with football, but defense wins championships, and that goes for almost any sport, not just football. Yeah,
Grant Nelson is still continuing to be a human highlight reel. I mean, this kid scored 27 points with 15 rebounds and 2 assists. Dash, what other stats you got for me?
Jakari White had 18 points, and he was 75% from 3-point range. Also, Damari Wheeler-Thomas, in his game back from injury, had 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists.
And then yesterday, after a tough road loss, they returned back home, though, and got some crowd energy, and they faced Omaha, and they killed them. I mean, complete borough out, 84-58.
I mean, considering the game started out with, I didn't honestly know if Omaha was going to get double digits in the first half. The defense turned it up in the first half, and they just took it away from there.
Yeah, speaking of defense, the Bison held the Mavericks in just the first half. 17 points in just the first half. The Bison had a 30-point lead going into the half, 47-17. Then in the second half, they went back to their old ways kind of, and they to let Omaha score 41 points. What makes it worse, this is the worst team in the conference. What can you say?
It is the worst team in the conference, but at that point when you're already up by 30, you definitely, I wouldn't want to say you let your foot off the gas, but you're definitely not playing as hard because you don't want to get guys hurt right now. You don't need to, do anything that you don't necessarily need to go for. So they proved what they have in the first half. They were just kind of lightening it up in the second half.
Grant Nelson led the Bison again, this time with 19 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks, man. Dash, what other stats you got for me?
Andrew Morgan had 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Tajavis Miller had 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Bowden Scumberg and Damari Wheeler-Thomas both had 12 points each. Also, the Bison shot 52% overall and limited Omaha to only 35% shooting.
Right.
And then it was the 6th time in the past 8 games that NDSU has shot better than 51% from the floor. So the offense, no question right now, they're on fire right now. They got it. They got the momentum. It's just can the defense help them out right now?
Right, and also in this game, all 5 starters had double figures. So, yeah, the offense is up to par. It's just a defense element. And the thing, like we harped on 2 weeks ago, we have defensive guys. Bowden, Wheeler, Jakari Wright. We got the guys. Can they be disciplined? And in a post press conference, Coach said their practice this week was one of the hardest practices they ever had, focusing on the defensive element.
Yeah, Dave Richmond has not skipped defense, I'm sure. Like he has not stopped talking about it in press conferences.
Yeah, that's because that's all the people ask him.
Which just makes it stranger why the defense still hasn't quite gotten up to par at certain points. But maybe this Omaha game is a sign of things to come, and that maybe the defense has figured something out.
And I don't want to make this as an excuse, but this is a young team. He's also talking about the freshmen. It's a battle, but it's a joy also. It's just a young team, and they have to be more disciplined. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, the freshmen, the transfers, and we talked about that at the beginning of the year. This was going to be kind of a transitionary phase with a new sort of core, but, at this point in the season, everything should be kind of together at this point, especially with how well they were doing earlier in the season, so I don't know.
I'd say it's probably consistency. That's probably their big problem, along with the defense consistent. Can they, like I said, in the first half, they held them to just 17 points, but can they do that for a whole game, especially against opponents like SDSU and Oral Roberts?
And to be fair, that seems to be what a lot of teams in the conference are going through right now. South Dakota State are both kind of going through transitionary phases right now. The only team that's not getting affected by it is Oral Roberts, and that's because they got most of their core back. They got A. Smith and McBride back. So
and that 7'5" fella?
Yep, and they got Van over from Arkansas. So, that's the only team that's not getting affected by it, because they got most of their quarterbacks. So this whole conference is kind of going through that right now. It's just who can handle it the best.
Yep. Previewing to next game, there are 7-6 in the conference, still holding that number 5 spot in the conference. But St. Thomas and UND is on the hills. Tomorrow they will host 8th-ranked Denver Pioneers. This team is all over the place. They had a big victory against Western Illinois, but now they're on a 2-game losing streak against St. Thomas and UND. So I don't know what's up with this team.
I don't know. It's kind of like it goes back to that thing where every road game you need to capitalize on, and Denver did not do that. Of course, they did at home when they played Western Illinois, and Western Illinois, who was second in the conference at the time, and they just got dismantled by Denver. Denver won that game by 30 points. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's hard to win road games this year. Yeah. And we talk about this every single week, but it's the truth. It really is. Every week it's like more often than not, the home team's going to get the victory than the road team.
Yep. Moving on to women's, they also had a tough weekend with the Jackrabbits. They took another step back also going against Omaha away in Nebraska. So women's kind of having an up and down for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, and unfortunately lately it's been more down than up, and especially on the offensive side. The offenses really seem to struggle to capture any sort of momentum or rhythm, and a lot of the times you only get one player in double figures in a game, and that's not going to win you a game a lot of the time.
Not at all. So last Saturday they hosted 13-0. Number 1 ranked SDSU Jackrabbits. This is tough. This is at the Shield Center, too. This is at the mecca of Fargo, and they just got blown out, 82-54. 28-point loss.
And it hurt more because it didn't start that way. NDSU actually started out. It looked like they had SDSU figured out. They started off with a great start, and then one quarter was all it took for things to go south.
Sadly, the loss shattered their 9-0 record at home. But let's get into the game. So the Bison started off pretty fast. They're up by 9 points, 11-2 in the first 2 minutes of the game. And then they took the lead, taking the first quarter 23-18. But in the second quarter, the Bison only scored 3 points. 3 points.
That's going to take the wind out of anybody's sails. When you can only get 3 points in a quarter, especially after scoring 23 in the first quarter, you just raise your hands up in the air and say, what do you do about that?
And they went into the half 36-26, and then SCSU scored 46 points in the second half, and they just took the game 82-54. So this is tough.
It's an unfortunate loss, but that first quarter, though, shows you, especially come tournament time, if they happen to run into this team again, they could contend. They just have to continue to do what they did in the first quarter for 3 more quarters, and there is a chance that SDSU could be beaten because they showed that they can, not only keep up with them, but they were dominating them in the first quarter.
They had 5 players to score over 10 points and shot 51 from the field. This team is a reason why they're 13-0 and number 1 in the conference. This team is going to be tough. There's no way around it.
They are going to be tough, and especially considering the thing that you might have to do is keep up with them on offense, and that's something that NDSU has struggled with lately is offense.
Get into some player stats. Freshman Elle Evans, she's been balling out this year, kind of leading in the stats in mostly every game. 11 points, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Dash, what other stats you got for me?
Abby Schulte had 9 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist, and Heaven Hamling had 8 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals.
Then yesterday they faced Omaha in Nebraska and took another step back. They lost 63-58. This is tough.
Yeah, it's definitely a painful one considering that they did a handily job against Omaha back up here in Fargo. But again, we talk about those road games. You need to take advantage of them, and unfortunately, just another tough loss where they fell behind a little bit and just couldn't catch back up.
Yeah, in the first half, the Bison were down 32-27, and Omaha kept it going. I mean, the fourth quarter, the Mavericks are up 52-40, and then not going out easy. The Bison, and that's what I wanted to mention too. Even though they didn't come back with SCSU, but usually this team fights back. They don't just lay down, and that's what they did. They scored 7 straight points, 52-47, but the Mavericks just kept coming back.
Yeah, Omaha then made a 3, and the Bison again assembled a 6-0 run though to get back into the game within 2 with only 4 minutes left to play. But unfortunately, Omaha kept sticking it to them, and NDSU just they couldn't quite get enough to get over them. They kept getting close, but Omaha would just barely find a way to win it.
I mean, and this is also a wake-up call because Omaha is 6th in the conference and 7th in offense in the conference. So this is a tough blow.
Well, especially for Omaha, one thing that NSU did have a problem with, though, when they were up in Fargo, Elena Pilakota, she did not miss a single shot when she was up in Fargo. I think she scored like 22 points in that game, and I think she dominated again down in Omaha. So unfortunately, just being outmatched one-on-one when you play certain players, it hurts sometimes.
Get into some player stats. Elle Evans achieved her first career double-double in this game. 16 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 steals.
Evan Hamling had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 steals. And then Emily Banky had 8 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals.
So they're now 8-3 in the conference. Still ranking second, but tomorrow they'll be on the road against Denver at 2 p.m.
Yeah, they're second in the conference right now. They could have fallen down to third, but Oral Roberts lost on Thursday as well. So it's just, again, like the men's conference. This conference is very close, and a lot of teams, it's just right up there in that mix. The only one, and of course, is the one outlier in South Dakota State, who's undefeated right now and probably going to pretty much clinch the 1 seed at this point. But from like 2nd to 6th, it is very close right now. And kind of like with the men, you have to win every game you can at the end of the year to try to get the best seed possible for March.
Definitely, and we got to mention Oral Roberts also on the heels of the women's basketball team. So this is the conference is pretty much up, but good thing that for the new rule, all teams are able to go to the Summer League tournament. So we'll make it, but it's can we win it? Can we finally get to the end of that? Get to the light end of the tunnel? But because it's always SDSU and USD, they're pretty good. USD is not doing that good though. They're not doing that well. Last year, I think they were on the top of the conference for the course of the season.
Yeah, and they were second in the conference come tournament time.
Yeah, so.
But they lost a lot of players coming into the offseason. And it's kind of the same thing with men. A lot of teams in the women's conference lost a lot of their key players, and they had to kind of start over again. And it was no different for NDSU. We got a lot of transfers, a lot of freshmen coming in. But it's just whoever can make that work the best is going to get a better seed. And right now, NDSU controls their destiny to that 2nd seed. And this would be a massive accomplishment for this team, with all the questions that were coming into the season. If they can get the 2nd seed heading into the tournament, that'd be a big victory right there.
And then for the men's, you got NDSU. They're still doing pretty good, but, they got still Oral Roberts, haunting them. The SCSU still not down and out to me. Western Illinois has been kind of inconsistent, but they can still be a contender in the Summer League tournament.
And they also have, at the end of the year, they have to play Western Illinois and St. Thomas back up here in Fargo, 2 teams that beat them at the start of conference play. So there's no gimme games heading into this point in the season. You're going to have to earn every win. You can't just go out there and expect to win. You got to play hard. You got to play a good defensive game. I'm sure Dave Richard's going to tell them that.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll have to see what happens.
I'm just saying, if they can play the way they did against Omaha in that first half, the defense was for 17 points in the first half. That you can't ask for a better performance. And if they can score like they did against Oral Roberts, even though it was back-to-back, basketball, but still, if they can score like that, play defense like that, I think this team can beat Oral Roberts.
Definitely, the potential is there on both sides of the ball,
Definitely.
and you kind of mentioned like how Omaha was the worst team in the conference when it came to certain stats, but
yeah.
Either way, I mean, the way that they performed on defense in that game, there were so many blocked shots in that game. Yeah. That is something that I'm sure Dave Richard really wants to see, that aggressiveness on defense, the ability to block shots, the ability to get turnovers. Yeah. He wants to see that.
Yep. Well, I don't know what to say. Or we can talk about Grant Nelson too. He's getting some NBA looks. He's doing pretty good.
Yeah, there were 3 scouts at the game last night.
Yep. But it was well deserved. I mean, he's been putting in work, especially his freshman year. They just threw him. He's been in the mix for a very long time. He's had a lot of responsibility at a young age.
Yep, and he's already kind of the face of this team right now, even with
definitely.
Him not being a senior yet. So.
Yeah, see what happens.
It definitely tells you a lot.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into Bison track and field, wrestling, softball, and some NFL news. Stay tuned.
One kid, one mentor, plus one moment can unlock limitless potential. One heart-to-heart. One inside joke. 30,000 youth are waiting. Be there for one of them. It's time. Become a big today.
The NDSU bookstore has everything you need to show off your Bison pride. The bookstore can have you sporting green and gold wherever you go. It offers many different brands, sizes, styles, and selection so that you find exactly what you're looking for. Shop the NDSU bookstore and show your spirit today.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
the people. They make it such a warm place.
The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
And we're back. Bison Track and Field hosted the Bison Open this past weekend. Just like the last meet, they dominated.
Yep, in both men's and women's. And we talk about it. We say it every week. There's going to be new records. There's going to be new individual bests. There's going to be new personal bests. There's going to be new team bests. There's going to be new school bests. There might be world records set. Okay, maybe that's excessive, but you get the point. There's a lot of records that always get set every single week when they compete.
Definitely. Let's get to it. So for the men's, senior Josh Knutson broke the school record in the 300-meter dash with a time of 34 seconds. And then the funny thing is, he broke his previous record was set in 2020 by my good friend Adrian Harris, who's also on the team. And then senior Jacob Roden broke his own North Dakota State indoor 800-meter record with a time of 1 minute and 48 seconds. He now stands top 25 in the NCAA. And then sophomore Zach McGlynn scored his personal best of 5,073 points to win the Bison Open Heptathlon. So he ranks now 9th all-time at NDSU, which is pretty good. And then get into the field events. NDSU's Hunter Merkley won the long jump with a mark of 7.11 meters. And then Clayton Hanula claimed the shot put title with an indoor personal best of 17.91 meters. And then freshman Jarrett White won the pole vault, clearing 5.01 meters. Man, that's long-winded. It is way more, winners and second place finishers in this meet.
I was about to say, I'm going to get the women's here. I didn't even include second place ones. So this is all first place finishes here. So first off, Kendra Kelly won the 200-meter dash in 24.11 seconds, only missing the NDSU record by 18 100ths of a second. And then Jasmine Williams won the 300-meter dash in 40.41 seconds. The team of Aaliyah Miller, Drea Frolick, Aaron Valgerdson, and Regan Basler won the distance medley relay in 12 minutes. Elise Jennings tied the NDSU record in the 60-meter dash with a time of 7.5 seconds. Teresa Bollebrook won the 60-meter hurdles in 8.45 seconds. Grace Emeneth won her 5th straight long jump with a lead of just over 6 meters. She hasn't lost a long jump meet yet this year. Yep. Alyssa Melvin won the triple jump with a lead of 12.16 meters. And Addison Kapitsky won the shot put title with a throw of 14.59 meters.
Yep, and there's one place finisher. He didn't get first place, but he definitely competed. My friend Jack, like I said, competed in the mile, and he was dead last place, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. But hey, he gave you all this. Hey, clap it up for Jack, man. Clap it up for Jack.
Did it look like he was running at walking speed compared to everybody else?
Definitely, he was last at the start, I would say. But a lot of people we made Barstool Sports. A lot of people came. We came in no seating, so we're just in the middle. We're just cheering them on. Everybody's looking at us like, who are these guys here at this beat? But it was a good time. It was a good time. It was great to see NDSU dominate and him get dominated. But
well, maybe he set the Barstool sports record or something.
Yeah, probably. But both teams get into the next meet. Both teams are currently competing in the Music City Challenge in Nashville, Tennessee. These names, man. Music City Challenge. And then SCSU Indoor Classic Brookings. So both of them will kind of be on the opposite in different days.
Yep. So, starting to go into some non-conference play here with going to Vanderbilt. So definitely will be exciting to see how they can do, especially now, away from home. I'm sure they can do just as well as at home. There's really no home field advantage when it comes to track and field. That's the one sport that might be an exception to the home field advantage.
Yep. And then moving on to wrestling, last Friday they earned their 5th straight dual victory against Air Force, 32-10, so a blowout.
Yeah, and the Bison scored the first 26 points of the duel. So, that's the way you can win the duel right there. And they've done that a few times this year. They scored like the first 20, the first 30 points of the duel. And, that's how you win it. You just dominate out the start.
Yep, and then they kept the ball rolling on Saturday, beating Northern Colorado 32-15.
And this one was a little bit scary because Northern Colorado had a 15-14 lead with only 3 matches left. However, DJ Parker, Owen Pence, and Juan Moore all won, just close out a dominating end to that set.
Yep, with that victory, the Bison extended their winning streak to 6 duels, their longest since NDSU in spring of 2020. So they're doing pretty good.
It's been a great season for them so far, and probably one of their biggest and most exciting tests is coming up this weekend.
Yeah, they're back in action tonight facing against the University of Oklahoma. So this will be a good meet.
And Oklahoma, normally a very dominant team, and even though their record doesn't show it as much this year, they're going to give you everything they got. So this is going to be a very exciting matchup back up here in Fargo. I'm sure, a lot of people are going to show up for this one. I'm excited to see what the turnout is for this.
Yep, and then moving on to Bison softball. They kicked off their season this morning against California Baptist in Puerto Harta, Mexico.
I just want to say one thing. How can we be starting softball? I feel like we just started February and we're already talking about softball.
Yep.
I suppose that is fair, though, when you get to start out the season in Mexico.
Definitely, and they won in sweeping fashion. They beat them 4-0, so the Bison are off to a good start.
Yeah, you definitely want that. Of course, it's 1-0. It's kind of like this 1-0 every week mentality, except you're actually 1-0 to start out the season.
Yeah. Senior Carla Gilchis, sorry if I mispronounced your last name, led the Bison with 2 hits, 2 runs, and 2 RBIs. Dash, what are some of the other stats?
Emily Baringa had 1 hit and 1 run, and then Anology Aligbar Bucage had 1 hit, 1 run, and 1 RBI.
Yeah, we got to get those names down. But, so, to start off to a good start. Tomorrow they will face off against Brigham Young at 12:30. They'll be in Mexico still until next Saturday, so they'll be enjoying some good weather.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of softball games to talk about, considering there are 6 games on the docket this upcoming week in Mexico. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about this team, and we're going to actually get a pretty good look already of what maybe this team is going to look like this year and who are the star players this time around.
Definitely. To get into this team, they were picked 3rd to finish in the Summer League tournament, so not bad, top 3.
Not bad, but it's definitely not what this team wants, that's for sure. I'm sure after last year, it was disappointing to lose in the conference championship game to South Dakota State. They definitely want to avenge that. This softball team is very good from top to bottom, even though they've lost a couple of players. They lost Avery Wysong, a catcher, but, they're still going to be very good. This is a program that always stays consistently good.
Yeah, SCSU took 2nd, Omaha took 1st. And speaking of, but we still got people coming back. We got Emily Baringa, one of the top people to get us some hits and runs. So we got some returning pieces, but we lost some vets also. So hopefully this team could get the dub, get the job done.
Yeah, man, it's a good way to start the long season with getting a win 4-0, especially not allowing a single run as well.
Yep. Now to get into some NFL news, man. Thank you. The time is here this Sunday. The Super Bowl is here. The Eagles versus the Chiefs. You got the Eagles, who nobody had faith in. You got to remember, before the season, no one had faith in them. I called them the Eagles' hope. And then we got the Chiefs. People lost faith in them, too, before the season, losing key pieces like Tyreek Hill. But now they're back in it. Who you got? I
don't know. And you talked about before the season, nobody really had a lot of faith in the Eagles. I personally didn't as well. They made the playoffs last year, but only as that 7th seed. And going into this next year, they got a lot of pieces in the draft. They got A.J. Brown in that trade from the Titans. But at the same time, I was like, this team is only going to go as far as Jalen Hurts will take them. Yeah. And he took them far this year. He took them all the way to the Super Bowl.
And also, we can't discredit the defense because the defense has been up to par too. They won them a couple games too. So
that defense is scary. I mean, from top to bottom, you got great players at every single level. We talked about Darius Slay in the secondary. You got T.J. Edwards anchoring that linebacker core, and then you got a whole bunch of guys on the D line. You got Barnett, you got Davis, you got some old vets in there like Sue and Linval Joseph and Fletcher Cox. I mean, this defense, the one thing that I found funny about this defense is they picked up Roquan Smith in a trade with Chicago mid-season, and I figured, Roquan's going to be a big piece of this defense. They're so good and so deeply stacked on defense. He's hardly played ever since he's gone to Philadelphia, which is a shocker because almost any other team he'd be a starter, no doubt.
Now, I got a question. Mahomes' ankle injury, do you think that's going to hinder him? Because he can't really be mobile as what he's used to doing, so now he has to sit in the pocket and throw. Now, like we just said, the Eagles' secondary is scary. Can he overcome this defense?
And that was the one problem that the Chiefs had in Super Bowl 55 a couple of years ago. They were down both of their starting tackles against the Buccaneers, who also had a very good pass-rushing defense.
Okay.
And the problem with the Chiefs was, they couldn't block. Mahomes had no time to throw the ball. This time around, the Chiefs have the third best offensive line graded in the NFL, and the Eagles have a great offensive line too, but nobody really talks about how good the Chiefs' offensive line is. So they have all their starters this time around, and I feel like Mahomes, while he might not be not at 100%, he's going to be at least at 90 or 85%. And with Patrick Mahomes, that might be all you need.
Yeah,
but you also talked about, everybody thinking the Chiefs might fall off the map this year too. I can't exactly say I blame them, considering they lost Tyreek Hill in free agency, but when you get guys like MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster, and then they also have the unstoppable monster at tight end and Travis Kelce, this team is also stacked top to bottom on the offensive side. They also have an unsung rookie in Isaac Pacheco, a rookie, 7th-round pick out of Rutgers. What NFL players come out of Rutgers these days? But Isaac Pacheco coming out of the 7th round, as a running back. He's been a great pickup for them.
Now, another question. Eagles, first time here. I mean, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Hurts has been on big stages, but only at the collegiate level. Now he's at the big leagues. Do you think he can get it done with all the antics, all the hype? Do you think he can handle this pressure on Sunday?
I mean, Hurts has had this kind of pressure before. He's been to the college football championship a couple of times, and we remember back in 2018 when they were playing against Georgia, down 13-0 at half, and he gets benched by Nick Saban for Tua Tagovailoa in the second half, and Alabama ended up winning that game. But you would have figured for most people that would have been it for them. Just their confidence gets ruined. It's like it's all over.
Not him.
Nah, for Jalen Hurts. He goes, Oklahoma has a good year. But even then, he gets drafted by the Eagles in the second round. They already had Carson Wentz, and none of the fans liked it when he got drafted. Nobody wanted him there at first, but he's definitely proven them all wrong, and he could definitely prove them wrong again. But that is one thing, though, that the Chiefs do have an advantage in. It's experience in the Super Bowl. Because Andy Reid, this is his, this is his 4th Super Bowl that he has coached in, and this is Patrick Mahomes' 3rd Super Bowl that he has played quarterback in. And then meanwhile, for the Eagles, this is Nick Sirianni's and Jalen Hurts' 1st Super Bowl as in their respective positions. So the Chiefs definitely have the advantage of experience, and especially considering Andy Reid coaching up against his old team who he hasn't lost to yet ever since he's went to Kansas City. Maybe he's got something on them that nobody else knows about.
Okay, this comes down to the last question, though. Who do you have? Do you have the Eagles, or do you have the Chiefs winning this game?
My personal opinion on who I picked to win this game comes down to one thing, and that is defense. I feel like the offenses are both very powerful. They're both almost equal in terms of how much star power they have. But the question is, what defense is going to be able to contain the other team's offense better?
Sure.
And at the end of the day, personally, I think that's going to be Philadelphia that gets that done. Because the only difference is Philadelphia has a secondary that's loaded with guys like Epps and Slay. Meanwhile, Kansas City, they got banged up in the secondary, and even then, they were already young to begin with at the start of the year in secondary, and now they might have lost more players. They got rookies like Snead and Watson out there, so that's the only problem that Kansas City has. Can that secondary hold up against guys like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown? I don't know if they can, personally. Now, if their pass rush gets to Hurts, like Chris Jones and Frank Clark, if they can get a good pass rush, maybe the secondary can hold up. But if the pass rush doesn't get there, I don't know if that defense can stop them.
So, this was a tough one because you got the Eagles, And
I know you definitely don't want the Eagles to win
it's Cowboys, we don't like the Eagles, conference rivals. But I got the Eagles winning this one, 34-17. I like the Eagles, man. Even though they beat us, I like what they got. I like Jalen Hurts, the most humblest guy you can come across. I like their defense. Darius Slay, he's balling out. I like what they put together. I got the Eagles. I know Chiefs, I'm kind of scared because Pat Mahomes is just the guy that's going to get the job done his best ways can. And he's a dominant. He's a comeback kid, man. You can't just sleep on him because of the stuff that he lacks on that offense or defense. But this will be I don't want to say close game because I got the Eagles winning by 2 scores, but I don't know. Pat Mahomes, you can't sleep on him though.
I will say my final score prediction is actually going to be higher. It's going to be 38-35, I think the Eagles
high scoring game.
But also, in my opinion, it won't bother me whoever wins the Super Bowl. These are both 2 teams that I think deserve to win the Super Bowl this year. They got a lot of likable coaches, a lot of likable players on this team. This is going to be a fun Super Bowl to watch. Yep. I have no doubt in my mind.
And we also have to mention LeBron is now the all-time scoring leader. He passed it on Tuesday night, I believe, and now he's the king.
Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep, now he's the king. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mentzel.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
And we'll catch you guys next week. Go Bison.